Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 3, which is entitled The Status Quo. Chapter 2, entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. And this morning we're doing text number 5. So without further ado, we'll start the class. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vannachari Jamunatira Vannachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivadadhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vannachari Jamunatira Vannachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari 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 Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajikacharya Ashtotara Satasisi His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityalila Bhavishtam Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajikacharya Ashtotara Satasisi His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Tita Reta Gadadha Shiva Shari Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shami Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Ganga Mayi Ki Jai Jamuna Mayi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the Lord is Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga God Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Nityanamini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartha Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Nityanamini Narayana Namaskritya Narum Chaivam Naruttamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashta Prayesva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sivaya Bhagavati Uttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna dear Buddhis, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 5. pulakodbhinna-sarvāṅgo muñcan mīlad-dṛśā śucaḥ pūrṇārtho lakṣitas tena sneha-prasara-samplutaḥ pulakodbhinna-sarvāṅgo muñcan mīlad-dṛśā śucaḥ pūrṇārtho lakṣitas tena sneha-prasara-samplutaḥ pulakodbhinna-sarvāṅgo muñcan mīlad-dṛśā śucaḥ pūrṇārtho lakṣitas tena sneha-prasara-samplutaḥ. Hare Krishna. Please chant.
pulakodbhinna-sarvāṅgo muñcan mīlad-dṛśā śucaḥ pūrṇārtho lakṣitas tena sneha-prasara-samplutaḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
pulakodbhinna-sarvāṅgo muñcan mīlad-dṛśā pūrṇārtho lakṣitas tena sneha-prasara-samplutaḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
pulakodbhinna-sarvāṅgo muñcan mīlad-dṛśā pūrṇārtho lakṣitas tena sneha-prasara-samplutaḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right, so we'll do word for word. Pulakodbhinna, bodily changes of transcendental ecstasy. Sarvāṅga, every part of the body. Muñcan, smearing. Mīlad, opening. Dṛśā, by the eyes. śucaḥ, tears of grief. pūrṇārtho, complete achievement. lakṣitas, thus observed. Tena, by Vidura. sneha-prasara, extensive love. Samplutaḥ, thoroughly assimilated. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It was so observed by Vidura that Uddhava had all the transcendental bodily changes due to total ecstasy, and he was trying to wipe away tears of separation from his eyes. Thus Vidura could understand that Uddhava had completely assimilated extensive love for the Lord. Report by Srila Prabhupada. The symptoms of the highest order of devotional life were observed by Vidura, an experienced devotee of the Lord, and he confirmed Uddhava's perfectional stage of love of Godhead. Ecstatic bodily symptoms are manifested from the spiritual plane and are not artificial expressions developed by practice. There are 3 stages of development in devotional service. The first stage is that of following the regulative principles prescribed in the codes of devotional service. The second stage is that of assimilation and realization of the steady condition of devotional service. And the last stage is that of ecstasy, symptomized by transcendental bodily expression. The 9 different modes of devotional service, such as hearing, chanting, and remembering, are the beginning of the process. By regularly hearing of the glories and pastimes of the Lord, the impurities in the student's hearts begin to be washed off. The more one is cleansed of impurities, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. Gradually, the activities take the forms of steadiness, firm faith, taste, realization, and assimilation, one after another. These different stages of gradual development increase love of God to the highest stage. And in the highest stage, there are still more symptoms, such as affection, anger, and attachment, gradually rising in exceptional cases to the Mahabhava stage, which is generally not possible for the living entities. All these were manifested by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the personification of love of God. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami, the chief disciple of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, these transcendental symptoms displayed by pure devotees like Uddhava are systematically described. We have written a summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu entitled The Nectar of Devotion, and one may consult this book for more detailed information on the science of devotional service. Hare Krishna. Om Gnati Mirandasya Yana Ganesh Lakaya Chakshu Umilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Akadamayam Dadati Swapadhatikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Peshnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Shitarini. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gurati Se Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivachari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. The English translation again. It was so observed by Vidura that Uddhava had all the transcendental bodily changes due to total ecstasy, and he was trying to wipe away tears of separation from his eyes. Thus Vidura could understand that Uddhava had completely assimilated extensive love for the Lord. Hare Krishna. So, in this, we still have the description of the meeting between, or meeting of Vidura and Uddhava, and the wonderful exchange that's going on. Questions have been asked by Vidura. Uddhava had answered the questions, and not only was he answering to the best of his ability, but he was also remembering instances or times when he was actually directly associating with Krishna. Uddhava is a pure devotee from the spiritual world. Vidura is actually Jamaraj that has come to the material world because he was missing Krishna. And Krishna arranged for him through a pastime to come to the material world at the time he was there. He, Krishna himself, was there. So Vidura is now going on pilgrimage, and he's met Uddhava, asked him a lot of questions. And then when he came to, it's almost like saving the best for last, when he asked about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then Uddhava remembered his association with the Lord and things that had happened and how sweet the association is. And he's reacting to that feeling and the remembrance with the different types of bodily symptoms that have been described a little bit in the purport by Srila Prabhupada, and is described extensively by Srila Prabhupada again, this time in the commentary of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which he called Nectar of Devotion. So, by the Lord's mercy and help from Guru and Gauranga, we'll see, we may be able to talk about some of those ecstasies that devotees experience from the Nectar of Devotion, depending on how much time we have. So, the translation again. It was so observed by Vidura that Uddhava had all the transcendental bodily changes due to total ecstasy. So that says that when there is total ecstasy in remembering the Lord and connecting with the love of God, Krishna Prema, the body goes through different changes. Pundarik Vidyanidhi also, when this is in Gora Lila, also went through so many different changes of the body just by hearing a bhajan involving Srimati Radharani. Gadadhara was with Gadadhara was with him at that time, and well, he had gone to visit. Let's put it that way. Pundarik Vidyanidhi. And pūrṇārtho was so much in ecstasy. But before then, pūrṇārtho seemed to be living a very high material type lifestyle. So Garadhara did not really think when he came to visit that pūrṇārtho was an elevated devotee. But then when pūrṇārtho heard about the Vrindavan pastime, and he went into ecstasy, and some of his own attendants could not even hold him down. It's a whole description of how that went. You could even use advisedly the word violent, even in that. He almost, like in American terms, went off. The body showed so many symptoms. The screaming, the rolling on the ground, and sweating, so many things. Hair standing on end. So that was pūrṇārtho, who was actually Maharaj Vrishabhanu in Krishna Lila, Radharani's father. In Gaura Lila is pūrṇārtho. So it was interesting, very, very interesting what happened there. But to come back to this is Uddhava also expressing symptoms of bodily changes because of total ecstasy. What it means for us also is that if we get up to a certain point in Krishna Prema, we would also experience a little bit. Sometimes devotees at this stage also get symptoms, not the full ecstasy, just symptoms of it. And they may exhibit that even during kirtan. I remember one kirtan that at Gitanagri, and there was a function there, so devotees were visiting. And there's one particular devotee who's now a sannyasi. I think he's a sannyasi now. He was brahmachari at the time. He blows a trumpet, and my Guru Maharaj, my Titira Maharaj, he allows all kinds of things as long as it's worship of Krishna. He would allow different ways that people want to, join in the kirtan to actually happen. He allows this. He's not like typical have to only play mudanga and have to play kartals and harmonium and that's it. No, other instruments can come in. It's all if it makes a tumultuous sound. So this particular brahmachari, at the time it's brahmachari, he was dancing. Everybody was dancing vigorously, and he danced and danced and danced, and then he just fell on the floor and opened his arms wide and his legs wide like that. He was holding the trumpet. He blows the trumpet with one hand. We all started cracking up, laughing. He was just so much ecstasy he was feeling. And even that is at the just symptoms, the symptomatic level. The real ecstasy, like Uddhava and like pūrṇārtho and some of the gopis, what they go through, and the cowherd boys, those are all described in different books. But in this one, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions nectar of devotion. So we'll take something from there. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says the symptoms of the highest order of devotional life were observed by Vidura. They were observed by Vidura. Uddhava was the one that was going through it. He confirmed that Uddhava's perfectional. He confirmed from Uddhava's symptoms, what he was doing, what was happening to Uddhava's body, that Uddhava was at the perfectional stage of love of Godhead. Vidura could tell that. So, Srila Prabhupada says, ecstatic bodily symptoms, the changes, they are manifested from the spiritual plane. It is from the spiritual plane, but then it affects the physical body like that. So, they're not artificial expressions. You don't practice those kind of things and then come behave in a certain way. No, it comes just spontaneously. But those symptoms are also one that a person who is experienced, like Vidura, can tell. So Srila Prabhupada says there are 3 different stages of development. And please listen carefully here. This Srila Prabhupada is just really revealing quite a bit about what devotional life is. 3 stages of development in devotional service. First stage Sadhana. One follows the regulative principles prescribed in the codes of devotional service, and that's what the spiritual master tells us to do. Srila Prabhupada has done a lot of that too. The understanding of that also comes from Krishna's own instructions in Bhagavad Gita. So the first stage is follow the regulative principles. And of course, that means chanting, hearing, chanting, but Srila Prabhupada goes into detail more, so I'm not even going to jump the gun yet. Second stage is that of assimilation and realization of the steady condition of devotional service. To assimilate and to realize. So in simple words, a person has followed the regulative principles and it has become habit. It has become habit. It's just, we do it as part of us. It's like second nature to us. We do it. And the mind is in cooperation. They don't give it any excuse. What we have to do, we do. So that is the development of the habit. That habit is what's being described here. We've assimilated and we've come to some realization, and now the service is steady. It does not mean that the natas are all gone. No. It does not mean that. It means, natas means unwanted desires that are gone completely. They're not. In most cases, even at that stage, they're not. But the heart is opened up. And the mind is convinced that devotion service is the best thing to do. And the person has also conditioned the body to the habit stage so that service is done just like second nature. Time for doing this, they immediately get prepared to do whatever they have to. And everybody that's helping, working as a team, they do their part and everything is done timely to satisfy the deity of the Lord and other things too that we have to do. I'll give one example. When we finish Prasadam, Sunday, we finish. You will see that there's some devotees, constantly you see the same, sometimes same people, or something. I know there's a schedule, but those people don't miss taking the fluid that's for spraying onto the tables and the paper towels and the brooms and all of that, and they just every time they do it, and there is no mistaking. Well, there's no hesitation, and actually, that kind of activity, that kind of service, that kind of attitude towards service, it affects other people also. So you see that sometimes the children join in, and they also take the chairs and fold them up and put them in that place. They carry anything on the side. All of these, everything is part of devotional service. When you're doing it to serve the devotees and serve Krishna, you're doing it in the temple, it is definitely devotional service. And you see that there is no hesitation on the part of those who are doing the service. Like that. That's the second stage. You don't have to be initiated before you be in the second stage. Once you're serving, you said yes to Krishna, you come and you serve without any hesitation. That is second stage. And you're still, of course, we're still going through the regulating principles and trying to obey them and do the best that we can and get help where we're weak in certain areas. But then we're convinced. The conviction comes, that's second stage. The last stage is now everything that is negative has been shed, and now there's ecstasy. This is where Vidura himself was there. But Uddhava, because Vidura was traveling, so Uddhava is one that we focused on now. Uddhava was exhibiting this. Now, Srila Prabhupada explains that since there are 9 different modes of devotional service, beginning from hearing, chanting, remembering, those are the beginning process. So one hears, hearing. When one hears the glories and pastimes of the Lord, then the impurities in the student's heart Student means we're all learning. We're all in that same category as students, wanting to know more about, learning to love Krishna again. That's what we're studying and trying to apply. Mm. The impurities in the student's heart, in the devotee's heart, begin to be washed off just by hearing. Because when you hear, you think more about the Lord, and then the pastimes of the Lord begin to take a different type of feeling for us, a feeling that is positive, a feeling that is sweet, and that feeling makes us want to hear more about the pastimes of the Lord. Mm. And as we're hearing, we chant the Lord's name better, because when we're chanting, then the pastimes of the Lord also comes through the mind. And in so doing, everything is engaged at the time that you're chanting. I'm talking about japa. Mm. And then when it comes to kirtan, we're very enthusiastic with that too. The impurities begin to be washed off. Material attractions begin to go down. Mm. The more one is cleansed of impurities, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. So first, when you develop a habit, and now the impurities from hearing, they are going away, then the devotional service, actually doing the devotional service, becomes a sweet thing. Now, we're going to talk about it, something that happened this weekend, Saturday, which we all know this past Saturday was the Rath Yatra for Harrisburg at City Island. Before that, a few weeks before that, we were all trying to prepare. There was a whole WhatsApp group set up with the different departments, and people been given responsibilities, and the boys were talking and checking in twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I already could tell the positive attitude for all of the devotees that were on with the different responsibilities. The attitude was a whole lot better. I remember two Rathiyatas back, there was doubt in some devotees. And even it spilled out into how they behaved when it came to setting up. But all of that was now behind us. And there was a much more positive attitude towards cooperating towards the preparation for the pleasure of Lord Jagannath. This is what Srila Prabhupada is talking about. That's the second stage. Steady condition, assimilation and realization. That's the second stage. And many devotees were exhibiting that. And therefore, the whole Rath Yatra became very sweet. Even the demigods jumped in on it. I hope you realize that. How? We had wonderful weather. It was not too warm. Not a drop of rain fell anywhere. It was totally dry and not so warm. It had been warmer days before that. But on the Rath Yatra day itself, we got very, very, very wonderful weather. Everybody is talking about it. So it all has to do with, everything is connected. If we increase our devotional attitude towards service, the attitude towards service, then the demigods cooperate with their part, and the Jagannath gives his blessings, and everything just flows nicely. So the whole Rath Yatra was wonderful. It was one of the best. And it became that way because of devotees' attitude towards service. And Krishna would just add more. We didn't know that the group that's doing the touring, the young devotees, Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, that they would come, but they came, and the whole entertainment was at another level, higher than we've seen. So that's what happens. So we're saying all of that to encourage devotees. Nobody should be doing service with some sort of grudge. First of all, Krishna doesn't really need us. He's Atmaram. He's self-satisfied. So if you bring some sort of hesitation in the service, first of all, you're not going to be happy. You're never going to be happy if you approach service like that with a grudge. And if that continues for a while, what's going to happen is the chanting is going to be affected. The quality of chanting is going to go down. And then if that continues, Krishna would arrange for someone to take the service. And now you're really going down there. Because you don't even have the service anymore. That happens to some people. To definitely avoid that. And be more enthusiastic in serving. Which is now more devotees have gotten to that point now. The second stage that's described. And that's wonderful. And every devotee should actually try that. Open up and serve from your heart. So, the three different stages gradually increase the love of God, all the way up to the highest stage. Now, in the highest stage, there's still more symptoms. And some of it sometimes would kind of surprise you a little bit, especially for some of you that are quite new. But before we even talk about this, you have to understand that they are all at the transcendental level. Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yu viti tatvata. When you understand that everything about Krishna means his appearance and his activities are all on the transcendental level, then even if you hear things that you kind of can relate to at the material level, you will still remind yourself that this is a transcendental show. This is a transcendental, something that seems like it's material or we kind of used to it, but don't look at it that way. Because this material world is a reflection, and a weird reflection to a perverted reflection of the real. So since there's reflection, some things may sound like, oh, I've heard it before or I've seen it before. But it's not quite like that, because what we are experiencing is not the real. It is a perverted type. It's like looking at, you go to the bank of a river, there's a tree at the bank of the river, and you look at the river, you see the reflection. But also you see that there are ripples, little ripples in the river. So when you look at the reflection, first of all, the tree's reflection is upside down, and then it's not straight like the tree itself is. It seems to be wobbly a little bit like that in there. That's the kind of reflection, that's the kind of lifestyle we're living in this world now. So, all right, so the long introduction to this, but here are the symptoms. And there's a lot of them. Actually, in Nectar of Devotion, there are 33 symptoms. But we'll see a few here that Srila Prabhupada chose. Affection, anger, attachment, and in some cases, gradually rising to the Mahabhav stage, which is generally not possible for the living entity. So this is how Srila Prabhupada put it. Gradually rising in exceptional cases to the Mahabhav stage. The Mahabhav stage is exhibited by Srimati Radharani and Lord Chaitanya at their level. That's why Srila Prabhupada says generally at the Mahabhav stage is not possible for living entities. So what is the Mahabhav stage anyway? In Krishna Prema, there are 7 levels. And the 7th level, each one from sneha and then mana, and they go on up to the highest. And that highest stage is the Mahabhav stage. So sneha is the lowest, and then mana, and then the pranaya, and then the raga, that's 4. Then anuraga, that's 5. And then bhava, that's 6. And mahabhava, that's 7. So the highest stage is what we're talking about, and therefore it's not possible for people like us to exhibit Mahabhav stage, but still, by the mercy of Guru, we're here serving the Lord. So all these Mahabhav stages, they were exhibited by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So towards the end of this purport, Srila Prabhupada now mentions Bhakti-rasa-amrita Sindhu, that he said, we have written, when he say we, that means himself, but with the guidance of Krishna and his Guru. So he says, we've written a summary study of Bhakti-rasa-amrita Sindhu entitled Nectar of Devotion. And one may consult this book for detailed information. So, in Nectar of Devotion, devotional service is actually described, the nature of it. It is rare. This is the beginning part that describes like this. But since Srila Prabhupada talked about expressions of love, then we will talk about some of it. And that is in chapter 26, 27, 28, 29. They all describe it. But I'll take some from chapter 29. Bodily symptoms. Bodily symptoms that express overwhelming ecstatic love for Krishna. As we said earlier, there are 33 of them. And I'm looking at the time. We obviously won't go through all 33. But as much as you can take, we'll actually list them. Disappointment, lamentation, humility, guilt, fatigue, intoxication, pride, doubt. Again, think spiritually now, not material. Pride, doubt, apprehension, intense emotion, madness, forgetfulness, disease, confusion, death, laziness, inertness, bashfulness, concealment, remembrance, argumentativeness, anxiety, thoughtfulness, endurance, happiness, eagerness, violence, haughtiness, envy, impudence, dizziness, sleepiness, and alertness. Now, I know, with the way our minds are, Kalivika minds, we won't take in everything. If you want to hear it, it's recorded for later if you want to know. It's in chapter 29. Now, as we were reading it, some of it may have kind of surprised you. Overwhelming ecstatic love for Krishna, and there's fatigue, and there's disease, and there's confusion, and there's argumentativeness, there's violence, there's sleepiness, there's dizziness. So how can all of these happen? Well, what we're used to, that's why we talked about it earlier, what we're used to when it comes to these kinds of things, these kinds of emotions, are at the material level. But there's the same words that describe this, but the feeling is different at the spiritual level. So, anyway, we'll only talk about a couple of them and give examples also from the Nectar of Devotion. Disappointment. When one is forced to act in a way that is forbidden, or one is asked to refrain from acting in a way that is proper, then he becomes regretful and thinks himself that he's been dishonored. And at that time, there's a sense of disappointment. Now, there's bodily symptoms that come from that. In this kind of disappointment, one becomes full of anxiety, he sheds tears, the bodily color changes, they feel humility, and then they breathe heavily. So this is disappointment. Again, it's at a higher level, but still to get a little appreciation of what happens in Krishna Prema. Somebody is being forced to act in a way that is forbidden, or to refrain from a way that is actually the proper thing to do. And so his emotion is, I'm being dishonored. And then they become regretful about their situation. So that is a sense of disappointment. It's connected to devotional service. It's connected to devotional service. So sometimes that happens. Now, how? Well, Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada gives some examples. So this is about Kaliya, this first one. Kaliya had poisoned the water of Jamuna. Krishna jumped into the water, and the cowherd boys told Nanda Maharaj that Krishna had jumped into the water. They ran back and told him. Nanda Maharaj came, Yashoda came, and they were very, very, very disappointed because they already knew that many living entities, because of the poison in the water, the Jamuna having been poisoned by Kaliya the serpent, people have died. So then, of course, they are in the mood of, they means Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda. They're in the mood of father and mother for Krishna. They don't know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Nanda Maharaj, when he heard Krishna is in there, and of course Krishna hadn't come out, they assumed that the poison had taken Krishna's life. So then Nanda Maharaj tells his wife, Yashoda, my dear wife, Krishna has gone deep into the water. So now there's no need to maintain our bodies. Now, this is about disappointment we're talking about. Nanda Maharaj is disappointed already that Krishna has jumped, it's gone into the water like that, and it's poison, so they assumed he was going to die. So he says, well, if Krishna is going to die, what's the point in us maintaining our bodies? And so he began to chastise himself. We have bodies that are so full of sinful activities. So let us also enter into the poisonous water of Jamuna and basically compensate for the sinful activities of our life. So this is one instance of severe shock that the devotee becomes greatly disappointed. Another example, Krishna left Vrindavan. One of Krishna's cowherd boys, Subal, very close, intimate friend of Krishna. When Krishna left Vrindavan, he left Vrindavan to go to Mathura, his intimate friend Subal also decided to leave Vrindavan. Why? Subal was contemplating that without Krishna, there's not going to be any pleasure to be found anywhere in Vrindavan. So it's almost like, we give an analogy, like the flower that has no honey in it, or the ingredients to make honey by the bees. When the bees see that or come to that flower, they just leave it. So Subal left Vrindavan when he found that there was no longer any relishable transcendental pleasure there. Like that. Another example, Srimati Radharani is addressing one of her friends. She says, my dear friend, if I cannot hear of the glorious activities of Krishna, it is better for me to become deaf. And because I'm now unable to see him, it would be better for me to be a blind woman. So this is another instance of disappointment, but based on separation from Krishna. Also in Dwarka, this is in Harivamsa, Satyabhama is one of the queens of Krishna, tells her husband, which means Krishna, my dear Krishna, since I heard Narada glorifying Rukmini before you, Satyabhama is in a different mood altogether, I can understand that there is no need of any talking about myself. Well, this is an instance, it's cut it short here, I'm looking at the time also, an instance of disappointment caused by envy. Rukmini and Satyabhama were both married to Krishna, so they were co-wives. And because Krishna was the husband of both of them, sometimes there's some feminine transcendental envy between them. So when Satyabhama heard the glories of Rukmini, she was envious of her, and then she became disappointed. But let me also say this. There are times the same Satyabhama will say so many glorious things about Rukmini. So this envy is just a transcendental, feminine show, for lack of a better word, that sometimes Satyabhama goes through. Satyabhama is a live wire. I put it that way. The live wire, that means all kinds of interesting and very different transcendental activities exhibited by Satyabhama. He's not like one of the regular queens at all. That's why I said she's a live wire. So you can expect that between it, even though she's not really envious like at the material level the way we are. Some of us are. So that is that. And I'll say one more example. This is from 10th Canto of Bhagavatam, 51st chapter, verse 47. This is King Muchukunda that is talking. He says, my dear Krishna, I cannot say that it is only other people who are implicated in material existence. because I too am much entangled in the bodily concept of life. I'm always too anxious about my family, home, wife, wealth, land, and kingdom. Now, because the word kingdom is there, hopefully that tells you that the person speaking is a king. And because I've been so maddened by this material atmosphere, I'm now thinking that my life has simply been spoilt. So this is an instance of disappointment caused by lamentation. So, and the king that was speaking is Muchukunda. Muchukunda had met Krishna. He was in the cave. Muchukunda was sleeping in the cave. And one demon who was following Krishna. Krishna brought him to that cave. He was trying to catch Krishna. He was trying to fight Krishna. And those that were attacking Mathura. Jarasan was one of them, and another one was Kalayavana. And Kalayavana was the one that followed Krishna. And Krishna knew what he was doing. He knew Muchukunda was sleeping in that cave. And Muchukunda also, that king, had a boon that anybody that disturbs him, that he should get him, and he had the boon that he could literally look at that person and burn him to ashes. And since this was a demon, Kalayavana, trying to bother Krishna, Krishna just walked right from where they were, and Kalayavana following Krishna into the cave, and then Krishna disappeared. The cave was dark. Kalayavana gets to the cave later, and he sees that there's somebody lying down. And he thought in the darkness that that person was Krishna. So then he kicked that person very hard, thinking that he's kicking Krishna. And that was Muchukunda. And Muchukunda woke up. And Muchukunda had a boon from the demigods that anybody that disturbs his sleep can be killed by him. So he turned and looked at Kalayavana with his eyes, and Kalayavana was burned to ashes. And then that's when Muchukunda realized that Krishna was there. And then he starts speaking to Krishna, my dear Krishna. He's lamenting that I've been a king and I'm so entangled in bodily concept of life. I'm thinking that my life has been spoiled. So he was expressing, they talked about many other things. He was expressing instance of disappointment caused by lamentation. So these are some of the ways in which the devotees think, and they think they are unfortunate, because this part is only about disappointment. So in a transcendental disappointment. All right, so Uddhava is also exhibiting different bodily symptoms because of his remembering Krishna, because Vidura asked him to speak about Krishna, and there's so many things. Actually, Uddhava even resembles Krishna. He actually resembles Krishna. There's a whole pastime behind sometimes when Krishna uses him to decoy and make gopis think that that is Krishna when in fact it's Uddhava. So there's a whole different pastimes that happen here, but we won't go into that much detail about it. The point here is remembering Krishna is it gives wonderful feeling when you come to the second stage, when you actually are doing devotional service out of your heart by habit. You've come to that point where you believe this is the right thing to do, and I'm doing it because I want to satisfy Krishna's senses and I want to obey the spiritual master's instruction. We should definitely get to this second stage. First stage is just what we've been told to do, we do. But second stage is when we develop the habit of serving, and now we're doing it from our hearts. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you for coming and also hearing. We all benefit from this. This is the time to unmute yourself if you have a question or you have a comment. You can express that. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? If not, then thank you again for coming. And we all have heard that more and more and more listening to Krishna Katha, will in fact give us an opportunity to come to the second stage, of doing everything from our hearts. And then the sweetness begins to show. It will grow on us then. You literally love Krishna consciousness. Thank you. Again, have a wonderful Krishna consciousness day. Vanchakalpatarubhya kripa sindhivya patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you. Hare Krishna. I saw the thank you, the electronic thank yous. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.